After about 45 hours, I finally completed the main storyline of Death Stranding 2 on the beach, and goodness me, it was truly an experience. Compared to the first Death Stranding 2 is far better in the pacing of the storyline and the general understanding of the concepts that are being presented. For a Hideo Kojima game, we expect some weirdness here and there, but in Death Stranding 2, at the very least to myself, it is a lot more easier to grasp than the original Death Stranding. That being said, you do have to play Death Stranding first to get the full effects of Death Stranding 2, and that is not necessarily a cons because together both games are really good in their own rights. For myself, the main draw of Death Stranding 2 is the storyline, so of course this will be a spoiler-free review even though the game has been out for a while now. I do apologize for the tardiness of this review, but it is a little bit tough to squeezing gaming time into my schedule, but hey, that is my problem. Nonetheless, those precious 45 hours I spent in the game is truly an experience, and it's almost like playing through a movie. That is not to say the gameplay is not fun, even though it is, a little bit weird because it's essentially a delivery simulator if you think about it. But the challenge in doing long-haul deliveries, using everything to my advantage, is really quite an interesting mechanism at the end of the day. To me anyway. The mechanics are really fun, and as you progress through the game, you unlock newer items that make deliveries that much easier. The combat can feel a little bit one-dimensional, but that to me is not the main draw of Death Stranding 2. Rather, it is the whole delivery system, and again, I have to say it again, the story, it is just so good. Everything from the characters' facial expressions, the details on the model, the environment, the voice acting, all of these come together to produce a really jaw-dropping story experience. Yes, the story moments can get a little bizarre because this is a Kojima game, but overall, I really can't put it into words just how much I love the storyline of Death Stranding 2. There is a lot of build-up to the point of Death Stranding 2 because Death Stranding 1 to me ended on a very high note, and Death Stranding 2, although there are no big reveals like the first game, I do have to say the overall storyline is very satisfactory. So much so that I'm looking forward to Death Stranding 3, which I hope is happening because I really need to know what is next in the game. For a bit of context, I played through Death Stranding 2 on the base PlayStation 5 Pro at the performance setting, and yes, even though the graphics quality is said to be not quite as good as the Pro version, I do have to say that the game still looks very pleasant to my eyes. The environment still looks amazing, and every time I launch the game, I am impressed by the details in pretty much everything. As I've said before, the character models are very detailed, the environment is very nicely rendered, and it does feel like I'm in Australia, which is where the game takes place, and I don't think this is a spoiler, so I'm just gonna say it. I said it earlier in this video, but I do have to repeat just how good the voice acting is. After all, there are very big names in Death Stranding 2, from Norman Reedus, Troy Baker, Lea Seydoux, and many more. And the fact that the characters' facial expressions come across so naturally in Death Stranding 2 really improves the overall storytelling of the game. But I do have some negatives that I have to talk about with Death Stranding 2, starting with the concepts that are being discussed. Even though the game tries to help out players by putting all of this information in the corpus, I will still say that some of the concepts being discussed can get lost with players. Even for myself, I think I still don't understand 30 to 40% of what is being talked about. But the overall story, to me, I can still grasp quite well, and I can still get into the story for what it's worth. But as much as I like the narrative of Death Stranding 2, I don't think it is a game for everyone. This is especially the case if you're not a fan of Kojima games or games that have cutscenes that go on and on. For me, it's worth sitting through all of these cutscenes and admire the voice acting and the motion capture of all of the actors and actresses. But to you, if you're into actions and you just don't really care about cutscenes, then I don't think Death Stranding 2 is a game for you. Nonetheless, for me personally, I think that Death Stranding 2 on the beach is a strong contender for the Game of the Year title this year. There are still quite a few titles that I'm personally looking forward to play, but for me, I would say that Death Stranding 2 right now is at the top of the list. So if you're still on the fence about playing Death Stranding 2, I'd say get the game, especially if you've played through the first one. But if you haven't played the first one yet and you want to jump to Death Stranding 2, don't, because you really have to play through Death Stranding 1 first to really understand Death Stranding 2, even though the concepts are, again, very bizarre, very out of this world. So that is my review of Death Stranding 2. I truly enjoyed the 45 hours I've put into the game, and I look forward to jumping into the game again to finish all of the side stories that are offered. If you like this video and you want to see more game content, let me know in the comment section down below. As usual, follow, subscribe, all of those stuff, and I'll see you in the next video.